Hi, guys. Welcome back to Two Doctors and a Twist. I'm Dr. Marilyn Carroll and Dr. Jamie Chesler here, my
Hey.
co-partner in crime. We do not have a guest today, but that's okay. We have a lot of things we're discussing, and we just want to discuss them openly with you and see what your take is on them. So, Dr. Jamie, take it away.
Well, Dr. Marilyn, there's some interesting questions that we've been kind of spinning around and thinking about with regards to AI and kind of where we're headed. And I know our audience has been paying close attention to all that. So, I think it's important if we kind of just pull those questions out, things that we've been discussing, and let's really dive in and let's see what your thoughts are, and then we're just going to have a regular conversation here.
Okay,
Okay,
sounds
because
good.
we're not going to run in and just kind of jump in based on things. We're just going to start talking about it if that's okay with you.
That's great with me, girl.
All right. So the one of the questions that you and I have discussed is, kind of what happens when every applicant can sound, they do, applicants, they'll sound on their resume, on LinkedIn, they sound super qualified, right?
Yeah.
But how, in this era of AI, and we are in it, I mean, it's not going anywhere. We have to embrace it. How do we really know? How do we really, even as individuals, even as you and I with our backgrounds, with our credentials, with our experience, how do we really share that we're ready? How do we prove that? And I think that's such an important question right now that our audience needs to hear about, whether it's you, me, them, or anyone really.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that you and I prove on these podcasts is our ability to communicate. By having this podcast, we are communicating to or showing anyone interested in us how we communicate because we can provide an example of that where the employer can go to it and pull it up. Even if we had to, we can provide stats on how well we communicate in the audience, the different types of audience we cover, which I think is great.
Right.
Um, if you look at, we both teach college, our college professors, and our ability to communicate there in various different ways in order to get the points over to our students and help them to grow. And the feedback that we get from students. That's just some of the things I recognize. I know that there are more. What about you? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we use AI. Our students are using AI. We see it more and more all the time. And,
Hmm.
I'm in the career consulting realm as well. And I see it with clients. I see them, a really, really polished resume. I see their LinkedIn profiles very, up to date, and you can tell that they're using AI. But what I see a lot of is not a lot of personalization about it. They're kind of just
Mm.
regurgitating what AI is providing to them. So they're not really, sharing, and it's what employers are asking. Can you actually do the job? Because we
Yeah.
can. AI can help us design our resume, and that's wonderful. It can help us polish our LinkedIn profile. All the things that it can, but it can't talk for us. So how do we prove? How do we actually share with an employer during an interview
Yeah.
or any other networking
No,
opportunity
I,
that we
yeah,
know
I
this
think
stuff?
I think it kind of starts at the beginning. And I tell you, one weekend I was just sitting there and I get a lot of approaches from recruiters about job offers or interest in me applying or whatever. And I look at the requirements of it and knowing me, my geeky little self sometimes, I put it all into a system and said, okay, so I've been talking about this four E's, experience, exposure, showing yourself, showing how you've really been that person that's set in that seat that could do those things. And some of the jobs I met, I just looked at LinkedIn, put it in to see if how well would I meet it. Was I high, medium, low? And LinkedIn will give you that. And so, in putting that in, I said, okay, was there a difference between the high, medium, and low, um, separated from the search words? Did anybody ask for anything different? Did anybody ask for proof? There was only two roles that asked for proof of my experience. And so even though employers are saying that, there were only two employers that asked for proof of my experience when I went through. And I did about 30 of them just to
Oh my
see.
goodness.
Yeah,
Just to see.
that was 30 companies that sent information or LinkedIn sent me information that I qualified for the positions that they were hosting.
Okay.
Yeah. And I said, okay, let me see. Do I really? And how would I stack and what level would I be? Of course, LinkedIn provided that. But at the same time, I needed to know how it would work with the algorithms that those employers may or may not have been using, which all of them basically kind of use the same thing, the keywords. But you're absolutely right. You don't know from that. And that's what's been going on, I think, in the job market as to why now people are saying, well, you got the college degree, but do you have the experience to prove that you can do this job? And no, a lot of people don't have that experience to prove that they can go in right away and do the job. And the only way to show that is to have some type of portfolio. If you have a portfolio that shows how you receive that experience. So, for example, if you say you're a researcher, then I need to see in your portfolio several research papers that you've done and that people have reviewed them. Your level of expertise and knowledge has been validated by other experts that's at or above your level. If I say I can be a cashier, I must show experiences where I've been a cashier and that, or be able to speak the knowledge of a cashier as well and say, hey, I was cashiering at Chick-fil-A. I remember one day a customer came in and there was some challenges with the chicken sandwich, the fried chicken sandwich I fixed. And this is how I had to go about fixing that particular customer's challenge. So you got to tell those, back to your point, you have to share some kind of a live experience as to how you had that real life experience.
And I love that you talk about portfolios because, like, and I know that as college professors, we've also talked about the importance of colleges now shifting, helping students to shift from just measuring that knowledge to providing the evidence, like the Chick-fil-A example. I love the chicken sandwich, by the way. But and you mentioned portfolios.
Hmm.
So they can share projects that they've worked on. And as a career consultant, when I've designed and developed resumes for my clients years ago, but now AI can do that for them easily. Talking using metrics, if you've worked on budgets, if
Hmm.
you managed people, how many people have you managed at one given time? What projects have you worked on that can be validated? And you can go into detail and talk about that during an interview. If you've worked as an intern, maybe, or maybe you've gained experience through volunteer work or even
Yes.
the internship level, you've got to be able to share where you can validate that you actually have that experience.
Exactly. I think I wrote an article on LinkedIn called "Show Me." We are in that
Yeah.
show me economy. You can tell me all day long, but show me
Yep.
that you know how to do what you say you know how to do. And I remember having this employee that I had hired one time. It was in the crunch season for me during tax season. I was working at one of the financial services organizations. And the person said, I have the experience. I'm going to come in and I'm going to show you I can do this. And she couldn't. When it was time to show me what she could do, she had no idea. And I asked point blank questions. And so that the manager she would be working directly for asked those point blank questions and that person couldn't answer it. I think one of the other things, I've been working on a couple of projects for clients, and one of the things that I'm hearing over and over again for those basic skills, just knowing how to do those, how to write an email, how to answer a question through email, communications again, how to make a spreadsheet, how to make a presentation, a lot of things that kept coming back to communication. And so communication is just so important and knowing
Critical.
how to do it. And but until you are in those scenarios where you're having to do that, you don't really maybe know or understand what a company is speaking about. We know how to do emails, we know how to do presentations, PowerPoint slides, and things of that nature. I think you can get that experience, like you said, by just getting out here and volunteering and helping a nonprofit out. Nonprofits could use so much help from us.
And there's
And
always opportunities in the government,
yeah,
arena, with different municipalities, cities and counties. There's always opportunities, volunteer opportunities that you just reach out to, any government, county government or the city, and they've got opportunities for you to gain that experience that will help you. So,
yeah, I totally agree. But that just brings me to this other question we've been circling.
well,
Um,
let me just
what
touch on
happened?
something about personal
Okay,
branding
go
here, because
ahead.
I always want to share that because that's my area of expertise and that's what I teach. So, because branding is so important right now, and that's what we're talking about. You're in this era of AI, because AI is new to a lot of folks, still adjusting, still trying to grasp it and accept it. You and I are like deep into it because that's what we do. That's what we're teaching students how to do better. And I think colleges need to continue to
Hmm.
step up for students about teaching them how to use AI correctly. But your personal brand isn't what AI can write about you on your resume or LinkedIn. It's what we've been talking about. It's the
Yeah,
proof. It's your story. It's the narrative that you're sharing.
yes.
So your personal brand is so important right now, and how you communicate that, just as you said. So yeah,
Yeah,
let's
I
move on.
think, yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize how they show up.
Mhm.
Um, People follow and watch everything. I got a email from someone in another country
Oh,
today, and they
oh,
said to me, I like the way you carry yourself. They talked about my different hairstyles,
mhm.
but it stated that those hairstyle was always good representation of a person on the move, on the go, and willing to work and very professional to them. I thought, oh my gosh, okay. I didn't know you were looking at my hair. But I thought the content had to matter. So, but a lot of people don't think that people look at their hair. Well, the people that spending dollars do look at you from head to toe and how you go about presenting yourself.
Right, right. It's the whole package, Marilyn. It's the whole
Mhm.
package. Body
Yeah,
language, every which way that you communicate, it's first observed through the outward
yeah.
perception.
Even down to your fingernails. What kind of polish, how your nails look. Are they long? Are you spending capital there? What, how did you dress?
Mhm.
What was there? I remember somebody saying to me one time, I was doing a video with some students and I was coming in from a picnic and I had on a summer dress. And they said, no, 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 you need a jacket on. You need a jacket to cover, the top part of your arms because
Right.
that's so important. And I
Mhm.
thought, really? Why would that be? But it was
Yeah,
important.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? I was thinking too, what happens when the future of AI depends not only on who can code, but also who can build, maintain, power, govern the systems behind it. I think that's where we're going. I think
Yeah.
those are the new jobs of the future.
Yeah. Well, and I know I've talked with folks that think that AI is a lot of it should be just for kind of programmers. You're talking about coding, but here's the thing, and this is a big piece of the puzzle, and I know you know this, but I want to make sure our audience does as well. AI needs managers, project managers,
Mm-hmm.
business leaders, cybersecurity professionals, obviously, data analysts, HR professionals, and all of those need to be good communicators, which is what we led in with. So, and people who understand policy and governance. So the future workforce isn't really, Dr. Marilyn, about creating AI. It's about making sure it's used responsibly, that it's used
Yes.
with
Mm-hmm.
security, and it's used ethically, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's a much broader conversation than just coding, right?
Yes. It definitely is. I wrote that book, Human Govern, and it's doing well. I only had so many of the hard copies made, and I sold out of those.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so we
Congratulations.
had to get more. Yeah, but and they were basically for I've decided to work with only once I get through with these few coaching clients that I have that's left on my books to only work with 15 clients over on that particular issue because of all the questions I'm getting and all the feedback about things not going well. I think I could dedicate quite a bit of my part-time that I have now to that initiative on coaching. I could dedicate that to that particular initiative and help because I really am interested in AI and how it works. I bought into it, I've written about it, I've researched it. And so the probably the best thing for me to do is to help others, these companies, integrate it the right way.
Right. Okay.
And so that's been very important. But she said to me, um, several of them said to me, well, what's the next book? And I was like, listen, I'm tired. I don't think there's a next book.
I
And they
know
said,
you
no,
are.
no, no, that's not true. That's not true. There is another book because this one went so far. And what about when things don't go well? How are you going to talk about that? And even with some of the people I'm talking to, like in Germany and France and other countries, they're asking those same questions and trying to help them figure out because they're more into the ethical way of doing things than we are. That hasn't hit America yet because the adoption hasn't been so at that scale that it is in these
Right.
other countries.
Right.
Um, and so there's just so much more. There's so much that new talent or others who are out there that could bring to the table that we just need these groups to come together and we need to get it done.
And I think that, because we work in higher education, that I think higher education, all schools need to work differently,
Hmm.
get more involved and more understanding to help prepare the students for all of those supporting roles, not just the ones that are coding or programming, not
Yeah.
just those. It needs to go across all of the different business functions, just as I mentioned earlier. So I think that organizations, they're going to need those people who can actually manage, instead of just a project manager, manage an AI project, right? They're going to need to be able to interpret data and address some of those ethical concerns that companies are dealing with. They need, you talked about policies and governance.
Hmm.
Use it to develop those policies and communicate what are the AI strategies that stakeholders are looking for companies to be able to develop, to be able to communicate. How are they training employees to use AI?
Yeah.
So
You
a
know,
lot's happening out there.
yes, it is. It is. There's so, I guess I see it all the time, all the opportunities that's available for people at these companies and things, work they have to do. We're just scaling the surface.
We are.
There's a lot of training. People telling me, well, I went through this training and I got certification. Yeah, certification that you went to and you understand terminology in AI, but do
Right.
you understand implementation? How to
Exactly.
implement it, what to
Right.
do, how to question things, and all of that. And that's the training we have to do to a lot of the students. that are coming through. So much work to do, so many revisions to how you teach a class, and the ability for students to use AI. They have to use AI. And when they use AI, there's a way to teach to that. And that's the big thing that a lot of people are not talking about. We
Right.
have to know how to teach to AI, what type of questions to ask our students, what kind of um, assessment, basically, that we're
Exactly.
going to do now that AI is in the picture. Not how do we find that AI was involved. We wanted to be involved, but how do we assess what the student really understands and knows, and how do we teach them how to assess what they just got?
And
Um,
and it's not just knowledge. It's not just regurgitating on a test or submitting
mhm.
a written paper. They have to be able, I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot more students having to present that knowledge live, or at
Yes.
least do a recording of how they have used it. So they're speaking
Hmm.
to their ability to utilize, how do they use it effectively? How have they used it? And the classroom has to be able to teach students how to do that and not just regurgitate it on a test or through a research paper that they've
Yeah.
written.
I totally agree, Dr. Jamie. I think that's over and done with. I think we've probably been over that for a long time. And
Right.
that's why many of our possibly K through 12 students got bored with that. They don't want to remember something, they want to know how to do it. My granddaughter, she was with us over the holidays, and she said, the oldest one, and she says, Grandmother, I applied for, well, she told her father, and then her father said, Mom, she applied for a job. Bray applied for a job and got it as a lifeguard. I was like, huh? She want to be a
Okay.
lifeguard?
All right. My son's been a lifeguard too. I remember those days in the summer.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm so proud of her because
Yeah.
not she's not sitting around just doing nothing, but she's going out and utilizing her skill sets. And
Mhm.
she could be at home just looking at that phone, doing things instead of developing the skill sets to say, I know how to save a life. And that in and of itself could turn into other things around saving a life.
Right.
And so I was admired by all of that instead of just sitting there looking for answers on something which she didn't want to. She really wanted to utilize her body, her skills, her know-how, her ability, her passion for swimming to use it to save other lives. And I thought, how great. I remember my youngest granddaughter, she took swimming lessons, and her teacher was her cousin, like it was like her cousin, about the same age. And so I was enamored over the process that she wanted to go through on that to learn something, and her discussion with me about using her skill sets and her passion for swimming. So yeah. But that, I mean, I think those were two great topics we've had on this one. This podcast is to the applicant sounding the same. We've answered that, and how to prove you're ready and what happens in the future of AI. Those
Right.
two were great questions. Just jiving that we talked about. I know we have some more questions, but we'll have those on the next episode. How does that sound?
Sounds great. I love that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So thank you guys for joining us today on Two Doctors and a Twist. Dr. Jamie and I, we two gals gabbing about, what's going on with this AI, having more of this conversation so that we and our audience can hear instead of just sending the questions to us. We wanted to bring them to the forefront for you because you took the time to access. So that's it. Take care, and we'll see you later.
Thank you.